If you like this channel and what I do here, please help to support my work by checking out one of my books, available from Lulu Publishing and Amazon.com. Thank you. Hiya folks, Carl James here from Electric Media Madness, joining me today with Dan Ryan again. We're talking about Star Trek Picard.
We are, yes.
How are you doing anyway?
I'm okay.
Your brain hasn't melted from it yet?
It hasn't.
Right.
But first, before we start, I
Okay.
have an announcement to make to you and our lovely viewers.
Okay.
I've started watching Deep Space Nine.
You've started watching more of it?
I've started watching more
Oh,
of it.
brilliant. Right, okay.
So video soon.
Oh, great. Oh, you kept that quiet.
I wanted a nice little surprise.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, the last chunk.
I've literally just started it like yesterday.
Right.
I've watched an episode and a half of the last chunk.
The last 10.
Because
we were going to talk about that, weren't we?
We were.
Yeah. Right, okay, brilliant. Yeah. Great stuff.
I'm halfway through part 2.
Right. That's brilliant.
Follow up from
look
last
forward to that one.
episode.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So with season 2 of Picard, I've got a feeling that you and I are going to diverge a little bit on our thoughts on this as we go along.
We may.
We won't start shouting and bawling at each other, so don't worry about that. I know people like interesting videos like that on YouTube, but we're quite civilised people, aren't we? Yeah. So today, pretty much because life has got in the way for me, work and things like that, so we're a week behind. So for this video, we're going to talk about episode 2 and episode 3.
Yes.
Of season 2. Episode 2 is called Penance, and episode 3 is Assimilation. The end of episode 1, Q clicked his fingers and sent them into this parallel universe. Yeah.
Basically, Germany in 1945. Basically.
Well, I mean, some people say, they'd already done the mirror universe to death.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the mirror universe, but it's a different mirror universe. And
we'll
get
into
that. Yeah.
It's like a human supremacy universe where like humans have gone around and like killed everyone else off. Basically,
I have some notes on that.
Yeah.
Inevitably, I always do with these kind of subjects, but it is interesting because sorry, interrupted. But before we get into that with the plot, I do believe that they've done the bait and switch with this episode, because I said in the first video we talked about is getting it back to the more optimistic Star Trek. And telling good stories instead of getting into the identity politics and bashing people for their various perceptions of the world and things like that. And I said, hopefully this will not happen straight away. I did feel like they did it straight away after episode 1. But anyway, so yeah, carry on. So
yeah, they're in the and then like Picard is this mass warmonger.
General Picard.
Like everyone loves him on Earth. He's like the hero of Earth. He's the one who kills all the aliens. He's got like loads of characters from other series.
Yeah, we get some
Skulls.
nods to Deep Space Nine and other things, don't we? There's Gul Dukat and General Martok and Sarek as well, Spock's dad.
Yeah. He's just got those skulls in his...
Yeah, that he murdered them.
Yeah. Loads of weapons everywhere. And they remember who they were.
Yeah, they remember the original timeline.
But they're thrown...
But they've got like the new roles that they're playing in this alternate timeline. Yeah, everybody of the core characters.
Yeah. Everyone else.
Soji obviously wasn't there, but it was everybody who was on La Serena, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously she's not going to be playing much of a part in this season. So,
she can't unless... No, I don't even see how they can.
No. She might crop up right at the end of the season again.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised because she's a big part of the first season.
She was the...
she's almost the main character.
Yeah, she was the bestest ever.
And then they just shafted her completely this season.
Yeah.
Which
is... So obviously she wasn't the bestest ever.
It's really weird why they've... I don't know why they've...
They built that whole story arc pretty much for season 1 all around Daj and Soji.
I guess they had literally... They couldn't fit them into this season or something.
Maybe. Who knows?
I wonder if...
Maybe the public response to that particular story arc factored into it.
I wonder if...
Which meant by virtue they had to get rid of the character.
If she was there, then they wouldn't need the Borg Queen. I'm skipping ahead a bit here.
That's a very good point, actually, for end of episode 2 season, episode 3.
They might not have needed the Borg Queen at all.
And for a dramatic effect, and we've got member berries, they needed the Borg Queen.
Yes.
And let's face it, Soji's not going to be the Borg Queen, is she? So yeah,
Because
that's a good thought. Very
I guess
good thought,
she'd have been able to do all the calculations and everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe that's why.
yeah. But like you say, we're jumping ahead. But
Yeah, we are jumping ahead. So there's this big ceremony.
Eradication
Day, where
lovely, eh?
you find out they're basically going to kill the last Borg, which is a cut in half Borg Queen.
Yeah, yeah.
And like Picard's going to be there, Seven's the president, and everyone else is, except everyone's in like important places, kind of.
And very conveniently, although you could argue as a plot contrivance that because Q created that scenario.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, no. It's said that something happens in the past that's created this.
That Q caused.
But yeah, whether Q caused it or it's what somebody did in the past that he sent them back there, or he's going to get involved and send them back. But it is weird how they all
seems
kind
like
of
Q did it.
Yeah, yeah, and they all seem to remember their own, and they all seem to be in exactly the right place at the right time, don't they? Yeah, conveniently.
Q seems. I don't know. They talk about him being like ill or something. Like maybe he's just gone insane.
Yeah, we can. I've got notes on that as well, so we can get into that. Yeah,
it seems like he's just gone insane or something, and he's just thrown them there. He's like, Picard, you've got to live here. But yeah, they do this ceremony, and Picard basically has to execute the Borg Queen. Well, they figure out what they need to do. They need the Borg Queen to guide them to travel back in time.
Yeah, and I've got notes on that as well.
And they try and escape, but they can't escape, so they have to do the ceremony, and then they escape, and
they all end up on the last arena, don't they?
With the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
And then the Seven's the president of Earth.
Conveniently.
Well, not Earth, of the Confederation.
Confederation, yeah.
And
I have notes on that as well.
Her husband beams up on the ship.
Yeah, he's like the senior minister or some sort, isn't he, or something like that? Was he the marshal? Was he called the marshal?
I don't know, but he seemed like the actual leader of the planet.
Yeah,
yeah. She was like the face, but he was because everyone listened to him, not her, even though she was the president.
I find it fascinating when they do this in films. A god awful film that I watched recently called Don't Look Up.
I actually thought that was pretty good.
Okay. Well, that shows how we're going to diverge on these things. Anyway, good story, but it's full of worldview warfare and identity politics and all that kind of thing. Anyway, so that's neither here nor there. But one of the things you see happening quite often is that they put strong female characters in the president role, and there is one in that. Is it Meryl Streep?
It is Meryl Streep,
yeah. And it's almost like they're saying, we they're probably crying over certain things that happened in American politics a few years ago because a certain woman didn't get the presidency. But they like to do that. They like to put create these presidents of females. But isn't it weird how they always write them as like a nutcase or a psychopath or a tyrant? Now, in that film, she's a vile person.
She is.
And in this, even though Seven isn't, the role that she's partaken of in this, what she originally would have been, had her not retained the memories of the other timeline, would have been a horrible piece of work.
Yeah.
So mixed messages, folks. Good writing can solve a lot of these problems, but they don't know how to write things well. So yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, they just immediately are like, "You're a traitor."
Yeah.
To her.
Yeah.
Like yeah. But then the episode ends there, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I've skimmed over the smaller details.
The general points are there. Yeah. Elnor's like he's like a radical, isn't he?
He's basically a terrorist.
Yeah. And they blow up all these buildings, and they say that one's for Andoria, and that one's for Kronos, and that one's for Cardassia, and all that kind of thing. And Raffi is like this senior security officer type thing who's hunting them down, and she just happens to be in the same. Was it Tokyo or was it Okinawa? I can't remember where it was somewhere. Yeah.
That was last week. I watched that.
Yeah, just literally just happened to be down, like 30 yards away down the street from him. Again, you could say Q made them put them there in those places. Yeah. And Jurati is like a senior scientist studying the Borg Queen for them. And so they're all in the right place at the right kind, and they're kind of bluffing their way through it all. And as that gathering of information about what they've got to do, they realise they've got to travel back in time. They're going to do the slingshot thing that they did in I can't remember what episode it was of the original series, but they certainly did it in Star Trek 4: The Voyage Home. And again, I will get into that in a minute, because they seem to think that the only way they can make the calculations is using the Borg Queen. But yeah, and they beat the Marshal. I keep calling him the Marshal. I want to call him Marshal, but I don't know if it is. Him and some other security officers and staff, Confederation officers, beam up and they shoot Elnor, and that's the cliffhanger at the end of the episode, isn't it? Yeah. And we're not sure.
Wait, did they shoot him, or was that the start of this one?
They shot him, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was the end of
They did a slight overlap at the beginning of the third one from the previous one. Yeah, they did shoot him.
It's all merged in my head.
That was the cliffhanger. Yeah. Before we get into talking about plot for episode 3, do you want to run through some stuff about this episode? I've got about a half a dozen of pages of notes. But
I had quite a lot of fun with it. Like, it was just... It seemed like something they were all kind of having a bit of fun with. Like, yes, it was a serious episode, but it was a fun, different episode. There was just little bits where I was like... Maybe I was just like, oh yeah, let's go, in that kind of mood. And not like a serious mood.
Sometimes you do, yeah. You know me, the way I approach watching things sometimes, and especially where Star Trek's concerned, because I've got a special place in my heart for Star Trek, and I believe that Star Trek should be a certain way. It certainly should be optimistic and hopeful and positive, and create a good vibe for the positivity for the future and all that kind of thing. Now, I know Star Trek has done the mirror universe, it's done divergent universes, it's done some very dark episodes, some very almost nihilistic episodes at time, but fundamentally at its core, when you go back to the reset at the end of that episode for the ready for the next week, these are humanity is good. It's not even a case of they're tolerant, because they're just open to everything. Yeah. They're open to the experience of the universe, all the races they meet, and that doesn't work perfectly. Obviously, the Borg is a good example of that, the Romulans and the Klingons in the original series, but generally it's to visit strange new worlds, new civilizations, to go where no one's gone before, and just get out there and just party and enjoy, meet everybody, and and enrich themselves and enrich the human experience. This Star Trek now doesn't seem to do that. It's dark, it's miserable, it's and I think from somebody who's watched a lot of... I've seen this done to death already with characters. I've seen the dark version of 7 of 9 in Living Witness, in and some darker places she goes to with things like Year of Hell and stuff like that, and I've seen darker versions of Picard in a variation, not as bad, but it's been done to death, and certainly with the mirror universe in Deep Space Nine, and visited in the original series, visited again in Enterprise, and God knows they've done it to death with Discovery, haven't they, with the mirror universe? So that first episode gave me... did I fall for the bait and switch? I don't think I did, but I really hoped that we'd get something that was more optimistic. And straight at the end of that first episode, they go into this through a mirror darkly, as Q puts it.
And about 5 other episodes.
Well, yeah, yes, all the rest of it. Yeah.
He just starts listing off loads of episode titles.
But it's also not that. It's also the things that I think work well for Star Trek. Like, for example, this episode, the swearing is back again. It was in episode 3 as well. I'm too old for all your bullshit, Picard says to Q. Picard gets smacked across the face by Q, which,
that was kind of funny. You just went...
it's so out of character with Q, and there's this throwaway thing that maybe he's ill. I'll come to that idea of Q being ill in a minute, but it's just weird. And he says to him, "This is not a lesson. This is a penance." It's like it's bizarre.
It was quite out of character.
Yeah, there's I don't like that. I've got nothing against... I'm not prudish, I've got nothing against gratuity and bad language and stuff like that, but it doesn't feel like it fits with everything we've had in the years before with Star Trek. That's why it feels uncomfortable to me that it's not there. But I talked, just very, very briefly, just going through my notes here so we can get on with that. What we want to talk about, I said about the identity politics. They did it straight away. There was the slavery narrative. There was Q saying, "Why pay the staff when you can have alien slaves?" He says, "Such moral convictions are the luxury of the victors." So white privilege again with Picard. He's doing it's the same thing as they did the apology tour in season 1 with Picard. It annoyed me slightly. Some people might, but killing off these great characters, General Martok, Sarek, Spock's dad, at the hands of Picard. Again, I know it's a mirror universe type thing, but it's kind of pissing on the past a little bit. And then you go full on into the nihilism and the identity politics. You've got Picard's speech. He's talking about creating a galaxy ruled by aliens, like you say, the xenophobic sort of, and they have the Eradication Day. A couple of things that I noticed that were nice things, like General Sisko got a name check.
Imagine they say like, "Oh, should we take him to General Sisko?" Imagine someone like Avery Brooks.
I don't want him in it though.
But imagine if it was just a short cameo scene or something where they take him and he's just this absolute lunatic, mass murdering psychopath. And Avery Brooks just playing the living hell out of it.
Yeah, chewed the scenery up with
would have been amazing. Best scene in the whole show. That would have been.
Maybe he had the good sense to know better, but there we go anyway. Yeah, I know what you're saying. The fanboy part of me would have loved to have seen that. But I don't want these beloved characters being brought into this sort of thing.
See, but that was why I say only a short cameo like that or something. Because then it's not even that character, it's an alternate version of that character who's another.
So instead of Sisko, they bring in Rios, which is a poor substitute. But that had to work for the story because he was obviously one of the characters that can remember the original timeline. So
it seems like they didn't even really need him; they just needed his ship.
Exactly. So there is this officer that says to Rios about the Vulcans, "We'll put the green-blooded bastards down." So there's more of the whole race thing going into that. Holy shit, Jurati says. So again, that kind of thing. A line by Seven, "I'm president of a xenophobic authoritarian regime." It's just spelling it out what they're saying. It's and then they also managed to get a climate change dig in there as well. And they do that again in episode 3. I will just say this is a great book worth checking out. Andrew Johnson, Climate Change and Global Warming Exposed. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying on the matter. It's another one of those things that they just love to drop in there, and there's other things worth finding out about these subjects. But anyway, so that's polluted totalitarian nightmare. Picard says. We picked up on something. Was the Adam Soon character played by Brent Spiner? There was a holographic statue of him. Yeah, and he is in the trailer back in the past, being visited by Q. So I'm assuming that this is the Watcher thing, maybe, or he's responsible for the time changes or something like that. So yeah.
Maybe he is then.
Yeah, and he's you heard him saying, the hologram was saying, "A safe galaxy is a human galaxy." So yet again another one. Rattle through these really quickly. Poor Elnor. But the thing of it is, poor Elnor, because finally he gets some goodness to him. He joins the academy and that. And I mean, as we argued with Red Letter Media when they reviewed episode 1, they put up a graphic of all the characters on the screen, and it had got like psychopathic mad murderer by Jurati, and it got drunky Raffi, disgraced former staff officer, also an alcoholic, really, mass murderer by Elnor and all that. And again, in this, you think Elnor's character's finally been taken to a better place, but he slits an officer's throat, then he phases another one, and then he snaps the neck of another one. So he's still a killer.
It's fine, they're bad people.
Yeah, but they're good people in a bad universe.
But
he was like that before.
In that universe, they are racist, bad, naughty murderers.
And then there's other little things, and these are more nitpicky things. Ideological agendas that exist in the world at the moment. So we had this thing called the Confederation. And I was thinking of like the Confederacy, the US Civil War, so 1860s, the Union of the 11 Southern States that tried to secede from the US, and obviously in official history books, you've got that. It's you've only just go on Wikipedia. It's readily associated with that period of history, and that particular the Confederacy is the white Wikipedia calls them white supremacist states. And they were slave states. 7 of them were slave states anyway. So, what I could see there was they were trying to sort of pick this period from American history and saying this is how we can make this really, really bad Earth where it's white supremacy, all that kind of thing. So that I think that name was intentionally done for that reason. Confederation is it's only a couple of letters away from Confederacy. So
Yeah.
I think that's what they were trying to do with that. Let's get. I'm going to get your thoughts on this for a second, right? So they kidnap. No, they kidnap. They take the Borg Queen, and they put this throwaway line in there that when Kirk and them lot travelled back in time, they had Spock, who had this uber brain, so he could do all the calculations. So otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to do it, and they needed somebody like really uber brained again. So they take the Borg Queen. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, we briefly talked about this before, and you said that Seven is a genius. But not a genius, but she's smart enough to... Is she a genius? Okay.
Well, okay, yeah. So, some people have already argued it's because of the Borg technology in her.
See, that's what I was thinking
in
as
this
well.
universe, she doesn't seem to have that Borg technology in her. So I think that is a bit of a crafty get-out clause, so they can keep the Borg Queen in the season, because that's ultimately what they're trying to do here, isn't it? It's a catch-all thing, isn't it, for the viewers? Oh, we've got the Borg Queen kind of thing, So, could any other of the characters have done this?
The only one that maybe could is your favourite character in the whole show.
Quirky Girardi.
Yeah, maybe, but like. It's never 100% clear what kind of scientist she is.
Yeah.
So she might not be able to do that.
Right.
But she's the only one. If we say Seven is just the implants.
Right. Yeah.
And she hasn't got them, so she can't do that.
Yeah.
Maybe Girardi, but...
Right. But there is another character, and I wonder if we touched on it before. Soji? Maybe that's why she was taken out. It goes back to that idea again, doesn't it? Oh, Soji's not... It's not as crowd-pleasing as having the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
Soji maybe... could have. She's a Data-like sort of life form to some degree. Data could have done it. Data could have calculated it.
I almost feel like maybe they should have brought her in the season because.
But then the Borg Queen would have been redundant, and then you haven't got that crowd-pleasing thing then.
But her entire character arc
was pretty much done.
It was done, but it feels like it was. Meant nothing, kind of like it led to nothing, and it was like, okay, that story's done.
Yeah.
So that character's just done. If they'd have got
I think this season so far, a lot of things have to be slotted in exactly where they are, otherwise the other things will all just kind of fall apart. The Borg Queen, they trap themselves. They want the Borg Queen in there for baiting the viewers so they can get them watching. But they didn't really know what to do with it. So they tied themselves into a corner, really, with it.
This kind of leads into episode 3 a little bit, where they don't need really... I guess the only reason they need the Borg Queen is to get back now. Because they've got...
They need the Borg Queen to get there, and now they need the Borg Queen to get back.
But the episode 3 spoiler here.
We'll come to that in a minute,
But they've got the information from the Borg Queen now. So the only reason they need her is to get back.
Just to make the calculations for the slingshot again at the end. Yeah. I think it is that. I think it's just, we could have the Borg Queen in this season. Which is kind of ironic, really, because the list of things that Patrick Stewart put together were conditional to be in the first season of Picard. He didn't want to explore any of that Borg Queen, Borg thing.
I almost feel like, with the Borg Queen, already, by episode 3, it's rubbed off. It's served its purpose. And the, oh wow, they're working with the Borg Queen. Like, that's kind of...
Yeah.
Got a bit tiresome already.
What might be consistent with Girardi mass murdering, psychopathic murdering character that she is? I mean, that's something we didn't mention in the first episode, our review. They exonerate Girardi. They say she was under the influence, brief psychosis of alien...
I guess she was, but she wasn't being mind controlled or anything.
I mean, who was doing the influence? Was it Commodore O with the mind meld? Was it the that's left a bit vague as to what the actual
I think-
specifics of the influence were.
I think they were insinuating that the vision she had drove her
the vision,
mad
that's right.
to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not like she was being like mind controlled or anything. She still did it of her own will, even though she was a bit mad at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna make a bit of a guess. I'm gonna put my pundits and place my bet on this one. Some people have done some great ones. We've talked about the Red Letter Media one, because Rich Evans said that he thought that what they thought was the Borg Queen in the first episodes was actually Picard's mom, and it's a different Borg Queen to the one we're seeing now. So who knows? I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to do it.
Maybe.
But my bet for this one is, I think that brief connection in episode 3 between Jurati and the Borg Queen, she's going to usurp the Borg Queen and basically become the Borg Queen as the season goes on. Start to be assimilated, and because there is
like
a
the assimilation's going on in her mind.
Yeah, rather than physically. Yeah, because there is that scene where it looks like she's running across in the trailer. She's running across the tops of the cars super fast, and it looks like almost like they're chasing her or they're being chased by her or something. So who knows?
Maybe she does become.
I might be completely wild off on that one, but
you know what? To be honest, actually, doing something like that, if she does end up slowly becoming like a Borg, kind of.
At least to keep the character consistent. Like the psychopath murderer.
It seems like she's just sitting around doing plot things. Like she's the reason why things can happen.
Yeah.
Like this couldn't happen because of her. That couldn't happen.
Yeah.
Like
she's exposition.
She is exposition.
She's exposition.
At least something like that would give her character
and
repercussions from the very silly thing that she did.
yeah. And I wonder if, because I call her quirky Jurati, it's almost like comic relief, isn't it? That's that character. And I wonder if the writers, in their naivety or incompetence, I suppose, believe that quirkiness is a character arc, character trait.
Yeah.
So maybe that's, along with the exposition, or throw in some quirky one-liners, quips and all that, and then endear the character. A bit like what they did with Tilly in Discovery, although obviously Jurati's perhaps not as bad as Tilly.
Tilly's really annoying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
I do wonder, like, I feel like they kind of need to do something to her
Yeah,
character, because all it's like is, we need to find who the Watcher is.
Yes, that's something we should mention as well.
Jurati figures it out.
Yeah. It's implied that Q might be ill. The Q don't get ill. They are omnipotent. It's established in Deja Q, the Next Generation episode, that the Q, providing they're not made mortal, they don't experience any of these issues of living conditions. They don't, the biological life forms don't.
Yeah.
It's only if they could. I mean, that happened in Death Wish in Voyager. There was a Q that wanted to die, and so he was made mortal at the end so that he could die.
Yeah.
But he couldn't die until he was made mortal. So is this a change in the Q? We don't know. But at the moment, to me, it just seems very inconsistent. With what we know of the Q. But,
I guess he has a mind, so he could be mentally ill.
Yeah.
If not physically ill. That's the only thing I could explain. Like, it's not like he could have some terminal illness, which is what it makes it sound like.
It did, didn't it? Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say, the lesson take away from that is tyranny is only a tyranny when certain ideological groups decide something is a tyranny. We actually live in a tyranny today, but they don't want us to think that it is. These type of people don't. Look at what's been going on all over the world in the last 2 years, but I'm not going to get into that now. A certain prime minister, in Canada and New Zealand and various other places, that's tyranny. So is that where this is going to go with episodes going forward with the travel back in time? Which leads us to segue into season 3. So they do travel back in time.
They do.
I don't even want to run through that with
most of the episode is them travelling back in time, or they have travelled back but they're on the ship deciding what to do or whatever. And that is probably about half the episode.
Yeah.
And then Elnor dies. When he died, I just immediately thought he's gonna come back to life. All the characters seem like they're indestructible. A bit
this is fundamentally the problem with Star Trek has always proved that characters can be killed off. That happens a fair bit. But when you bring Q and time travel and parallel universes into the equation, you run the risk of having this great big reset button at the end of it all. And that's what a lot of the new Star Trek does. A screaming Kelpian at the end of season 3 of Discovery.
Oh my god, that was fucking terrible.
That's it. That's your get out clause at the end.
That was so bad. That's the worst thing.
Yeah.
No joke. That is the worst reveal. The worst cause of a mystery or anything ever.
Yeah.
Awful.
Just like that. And I mean, you haven't been watching season 4 of Discovery, but I still have one episode left to watch. But they've been ripping off things left, right, and centre again. They've been ripping off the Arrival and the Abyss and some elements from the Star Trek itself. Some stuff from
Leave
Stargate
the Arrival
as well.
alone.
Yeah, great.
Arrival is very good.
Even ripping off the. It's anyway. But we're here to talk about Picard, not Discovery. But yeah. The story kind of splits 3 ways, really, once they're back in time.
Yeah.
You got Picard, Jurati, and the Borg Queen on the ship.
Yeah, and Jurati plugs her mind into the Borg Queen, kind of swap bodies for a second.
Because they need to they need to jumpstart the Borg Queen, don't they? They need to charge her up again. Because apparently travelling back in time drains all the batteries.
I mean, I guess maybe she got damaged during the travelling back and she's draining power to heal, or I don't know.
Because we said this when we watched episode 3, I think it was when we were talking about it beforehand. Another of the many problems with contemporary Star Trek is some things are so vague, or just something that happens in the background, or one word or a throwaway line, and you're left to interpret it for yourself. And that was an example of that there. You just assume that the process of travelling back in time damaged her, or the crash damaged her, but it's lazy writing. It takes 2 seconds to do that, doesn't it? It's to say, oh, that was damaged by that.
Yeah, so she goes through this big thing of Picard is like, no, this is a terrible idea. Why would you even suggest this? This is awful. And then eventually she somehow convinces him, very poorly, to let her do it.
Yeah, it's either that they keep ignoring him or they convince him very badly that, this is a bad idea. And it's, again, this is a bad idea.
It is a terrible idea, and she's probably going to end up becoming some Borg or something, because they do swap bodies right at the end. Yeah,
it's that episode of Red Dwarf, isn't it? Body swap.
It's body swap from Red Dwarf.
Yeah, they kept flitting backwards and forwards, didn't they? As what she was speaking with Jurati's voice and vice versa and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Just one thing, they're trying to bargain about it, and she's like, "Give me the ship, and I'll give you the information." But she already has control of the ship.
Yeah,
she's
hooked up to the
control.
Yeah. And the Borg can assimilate things very, very quickly.
Well, they already have.
You only have one Borg. That's all you need.
But they did assimilate it basically.
Yeah.
Because it all went green on that.
Yeah, you said that about the very fast assimilation of La Serena's weapon system. So one torpedo was red, 2 seconds later it was green.
Yeah.
And, obviously Borg technology can just change colour of things as well,
Just food
energy
dye.
Frequencies, food dye.
They have this
slap some green paint in the torpedo launchers.
No, they have this secret compartment. They open it and there's a can of spray paint inside.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
No, have you seen Scary Movie 3?
I haven't, no.
Okay, well, there's this one bit where the president pisses at the end of his finger, and it's just like that. They just walk around pissing green paint out the end of their finger.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah,
that's how it works.
Makes all the environment change, all the computer monitors. It's not that there's the nanotechnology going into it. It's just green.
Just cheap green paint.
Just spray green paint on everything. Yeah.
Bit of grey as well.
Yeah. It goes back to this whole idea of Seven and Picard know how dangerous the Borg are, whether it be a Borg Queen or a lone Borg, they keep letting them get away with it, don't they? Hook her up to the ship so we can time travel, recharge her up. Given the fact that she drained, that was because apparently there wasn't enough power to revive Elnor.
Yeah,
to charge the Borg Queen up or something.
Yeah, the bed was that would have healed
the
him.
bed thing.
The power wasn't going to it because she was sucking it all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then she was going to shoot the Borg Queen. Raffi was going to shoot the Borg Queen.
Yeah, Raffi's what's wrong with you? You're trying to heal her over our friend.
We need her. I think it does go down to that whole idea of we need the Borg Queen. Not the characters don't really need the Borg Queen. The writers need the Borg Queen to keep the people watching it.
I mean, I don't know how this works. I might just be chatting out my arse here.
Okay,
but like, can't they just like look at the history and like reverse it? Is that how it works? Can they not just do what they did the first time but backwards? Or am I chatting out my arse a bit?
Go on, let's try this again. Explain to me a bit more what you mean.
So the coordinates and the calculations to travel back in time.
Right.
Can they not just do that the other way?
Yeah. I know what you see. I've got you now. I understand what you mean. Yeah, but it's a weird contrivance because it's kind of implied in Star Trek 4 that all you literally do is have to pick up enough speed and you slingshot round the star, back round the other side, and then you come and you travel back in time. But it gets a bit murky because in this they have to pass through a solar flare, which is complete rip-off of Stargate SG-1, because in that they do that to send a message back through time through the Stargate.
Yeah.
And they have to position the wormhole to go through a solar flare of a star at a certain time, but they have to be able to predict when a solar flare is going to erupt from the surface of a star. And then they ripped that idea off the Stargate. Correct me out there if I'm wrong, viewers, please do. I'm quite happily hold my hands up if I'm wrong on this one, but I don't think solar flares were involved in that process of time travel.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for the solar flare part, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
They could have just reversed the equation and and gone back. But if they need a specific solar flare at a certain, this is.
It's almost like
this is contemporary Star Trek.
It's almost like you say, couldn't they do this? And they're like, no, that.
No, yeah, exactly. And it's not meant to make sense.
Yeah.
This is the world of space ocarinas and stuff like that.
Imagine if the Borg Queen dies, they wing it, and then they get sent way into the future, and then Michael Burnham comes along.
Don't!
And they merge it.
I don't want to hear it.
And then they merge the shows together.
That is my worst nightmare.
Imagine.
But in all seriousness, I could see something, because if you think about it, they've done it before. Season 1 of Star Trek Discovery, they came back from the Mirror Universe. They'd travelled into the future by about 6-8 months, hadn't they?
Yeah.
Something like that. And then at the end of Season 2, they travelled
like
thousands of years, thousands of years in the future, whatever it now is.
It's like 900 or something.
That's right. So who knows? Maybe they will. Maybe they'll jump forward at the end, or jump back, or what? I don't know.
Maybe they'll go forward, and then Michael Burnham will go. They'll go, please help us, Michael. Patrick Stewart will go, Michael, please help us. You are a time traveller. Please help me.
You are the time-travelling Queen of the Federation.
You who travelled to the future. I don't know what this voice is on doing. You who travelled to the future. Please guide us back. And then it's like a little crossover, and then Michael Burnham helps them go back.
Oh, don't.
And then they bring Q into Discovery. And then Q has an episode with Michael Burnham.
All bets are off.
Yeah.
They really are with this show, as it currently stands, yeah. The rest of the time travel stuff in this episode is Seven and Raffi trying to go to the top of a skyscraper to scan for the Watcher.
Can we just appreciate the fact that no one listens to anyone in this show? Girardi is like, you need to 100% make sure that you don't take any...
Don't take any technology that could get
nothing
you change
from
the timeline
future.
or anything like that. Yeah,
They all take...
And they all go, yeah, okay. They take their phasers off and everything.
They all take a comm badge.
Yeah.
And they take a tricorder as well.
Yeah. In fairness, again, that's happened in many other time travel stories of Star
And
Trek,
they beam into the middle of, like... Just public.
Yeah.
Just in the middle, like some little girl literally watches Seven.
Yeah, and she says, "Are you a superhero?" And Seven goes, "Oh, you keep my secret and all that." So,
that was quite fitting of modern day, actually, because there's that many superhero films and stuff.
Yeah. I thought they were going to rip off Deep Space Nine with Rios because he beamed elsewhere mid-air. How that works, I don't know.
Well, they said it was damaged, so they can't get it.
Okay,
quite
so
right.
another plot contrivance.
Yeah.
So he cracked his head open, ends up in this little hospital, and I said to you, what's the bet in? He'll lose his comm badge, he's got no idea, and he'll end up in a sanctuary district, because we see the sanctuary district sign thing in the trailer. So How much of it's going to be a part of this, I don't know. But I thought that initially. He gets taken to a hospital and he gets treated, so I thought, oh, well, maybe they didn't. And then what did I say to you? Then I said the police are going to raid the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, because you find out it's like a free hospital for people like without ID.
I've got no idea,
It's basically for like undocumented people and just people trying to avoid the law.
A piss poor way of commenting on society in current times would have, well, again, we said it in the last video, done so much better in past tense in Deep Space Nine. It was a brilliant story, really thought-provoking, well done, and I don't feel like it's been done that well with this one, but he got arrested at the end. I think that's kind of where it left. What was the cliffhanger? It was a crap one, wasn't it?
It's his comm badge on the table.
Just going, Rios!
Hi there, Rios! Hi there, Rios!
Captain Croc. Captain Croc. Captain Crocard.
Captain Robocop. Picard is Robocop.
Yeah. And we said it because he is now, yeah.
It's a really, like, I didn't realise it was the end, like...
Yeah, it's just so abrupt, wasn't it? Yeah.
It like half a second.
You thought the camera might have just panned away from it or into it a little bit and it was going, Rios!
But it's just like, Rios! And it's just like...
Yeah.
Seven and Raffi just go and scan. They pick up like a brief blip and...
It seems like they're kind of rekindling their relationship somewhat.
Well, I don't even know if they are, or they were just using it,
or just bantering, or
there was a line to get about on the roof.
And my fiance was
but that was just so they could get access. Maybe, I guess I don't know. Not much happened this one.
No, actually, you picked up on things like poor Elnor being dead. I mean, you know, like you say, whether that gets retconned at the end of the
I imagine it will.
So he's been, at least they're consistent with the way they treat these characters. You know, you get one character and they treat them so badly, and they treat them even worse. You know,
he's out of his misery now.
Yeah. This thing of mass murdering things, because Seven's mass murdering everybody again in this episode. You know, I mean, you could say all extenuating circumstances to survive, to be able to get away, but she's gunning them down left, right, and centre, isn't she? At the beginning on the last arena. So Raffi, now this one got me a bit rattled. There's Raffi saying Picard was a bad leader. Even Seven looked disappointed. She starts shouting at him and saying, "You screw around with people's lives," and he's very disrespectful.
In all fairness, he was a quite bad leader in this episode. Mm-hmm. He literally prioritised like the ultimate enemy over his actual good friend.
But again, I don't put that down to the character. I put that down to bad writing.
Well, yeah,
the plot contrivances. So
but they had written a bad leader.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But if they'd have written it well, he wouldn't have come across as a bad leader. So the annoying thing with me then is that it's almost like they fucked up with the plot, realise that they'd made him as a bad character, and then write some more dialogue for another character to tell him off for being a bad leader. You know, so it's like,
like I've been thinking this season, it's almost like he's not actually a leader.
No,
like people are making the decisions for him, and he's just going, yeah.
And I think to varying degrees, making very bad decisions as well. I mean, some of it's just necessity. You run away. You know, the Borg are going to blow up the fleet or assimilate the fleet. Run away. You know, I know Q got rid of them, but and you're in a parallel universe. We're going to get arrested because they found us out. Run away. Jump on the ship. You know, they're going to kill us all. Time travel. Run away. The Borg Queen's crawling across the floor to get it. Run away. So and they do run away in the trailer as well. So obviously we've got more of that to come. I think what you thought on the Jurati, the single tier.
I was thinking maybe it's like fear because she thought the Borg Queen was gonna like kill her or assimilate her like straight before.
But again, going back to what you were saying before, I can't help but be so cynical about these things. This character is not particularly dimensional, quite one-dimensional. Is that just another thing to make her look like she's more of a rounded character, make her more complex?
I think they've made her a bit better this season. I don't think she's as bad as she was.
Yeah, variations on a theme with me, but yeah.
I mean, maybe that's just because she is the reason the plot is moving forward at all. Maybe that's why making her a bit more bearable, because she seems like she's less of an annoying side character and more of like the reason that this the plot is even moving at all.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that one. Yeah. I just want to mention one more thing. I don't want to get into the particulars of it here, especially with the way these things get affected by censorship. But it seems they do still have vaccinations in the 25th century, but they're vaccination chips now. Lord help us all. And looking back at the history of Picard as well, Picard said he felt a sense of euphoria whilst he was Locutus. Would that explain why he had this tear streaming down his cheek when he was assimilated in the best of both worlds? I don't think you'd exactly call that euphoria if you're lying there crying your eyes out about it.
I suppose he said, like, the sense of being the hive mind instead of actually being the Borg, maybe?
The only way I could let them off with that one is if he actually felt it at that moment.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem consistent. In the best of both worlds, and certainly if you look at the way it traumatised him afterwards in the episode after Family, it's so I don't know.
Pulling out their arse a bit.
Yeah. Girardi says, don't take any future tech back in time, but they take the tricorder, as you mentioned.
They completely ignore.
Raffi, the strong woman, beating up the mugger. Although you did make a fair point that he just looked a bit piss poor, didn't he?
There was a lot of like tents around, so I mean, it looked like there was like a yard full of homeless people. So maybe he was homeless as well.
I kind of forgive that a bit. Well, I've got no problem at all with strong female characters, and Ripley is one of my favourite characters in all of science fiction. Ellen Ripley from Aliens and Alien films. So I don't have any problem. Just do it, write it well. Don't just have it as an excuse to show it. Seven bangs the climate change drum for a brief couple of lines. Raffi slags off the 21st century as well and says it was a wonder that anybody ever survived.
It is a wonder anyone survived.
Well,
people are twats.
Yeah.
Just
but I'd say contrivances, because an awful lot of what's gone on in the world in the last couple of years, a lot of that has been stage managed, fear-mongered and all that kind of thing. So I generally believe in the good of people. I know you don't. I don't, but I think there are a lot of idiots out there.
I think people are selfish, horrible people.
I do genuinely believe there's a lot of good people out there as well, though. And a case in point, actually, which takes me back to the whole ethos of Star Trek. A lot of the reason why so many people have loved Star Trek over the years is because there are these people that inherently want. They want to live good lives. They want to have a good world to live in. They want to have something optimistic to look to for the future, and that's why they love Star Trek, because it was an optimistic message about the future. So I still think there are a lot of people out there that think like that.
I mean, I guess this, because it's a parallel universe, this is the one where that doesn't happen. I guess so. Maybe that's maybe that was what she was referencing. Yeah. When she said, "No wonder it all collapses."
Again, I'm cynical with these things. I just think it's an excuse for their. And of course we had the immigration raid on the clinic at the end, which I called. Girardi impressed the Borg Queen as well at the end, so there's another strong woman there. And they left the Borg Queen connected up to the ship at the end.
Yeah.
Why not the Borg Queen?
Just put her in like a little container box or something.
Well, I mean,
keep her away.
In fairness, again, the Borg can pretty much get them way out of anything. I know they had that proper containment chamber for it to be in, but
that's still there, isn't it?
Did it look? It went across the floor and got damaged or something. It did. It fell over and slid across the.
The shield was off, and they were connecting her up. And the shit fell, and she fell out of it.
Right. Okay. So
they could just pick her up, put her back in it, and then. But she's like, "Give me the ship." They're like, "No." I'm like, she's already connected to
Yeah, she's already got the ship, especially now that she's connected up to the recharged again. They put the USB power bank into her and charged her up. Yeah, so anything else? I mean, we've rattled through all those things. Anything else that you really wanted to cover before we get into our thoughts of where this is going to go and ratings?
I think that's pretty much everything.
Yeah. So, are you still looking forward to? Because you have actually been enjoying this.
I enjoyed the first one. I gave it like a 7, I think. I enjoyed the second one. The third one was not quite as good. It was a bit of a nothing episode. Like, it weren't like horrendous to me. It was like an episode that had to happen to get the story to where it's going next. But on its own, it didn't do much.
No.
And there wasn't much to it. It was like and it was like setting up the next episode, basically, like getting everyone to where they needed to be.
There's a lot of that with this, isn't there? Yeah, it's and it's following a bit of a worrying trend of what season 1 did as well.
I think maybe that's why.
Didn't it?
That's maybe why I enjoyed the first 2 so much, because it wasn't like that.
No, it wasn't. They felt like they were part of the larger arc, but they felt like standalone episodes, didn't they? Yeah. I think they can learn a lesson from standalone stories sometimes. It's have your overarching story of the season, but don't let it be the central focal point of driving the story forward. That has its place in long form storytelling. It worked well towards the end of Deep Space Nine. Obviously there's been things like Game of Thrones that built on that kind of storytelling, but largely Star Trek has always been a standalone show. I think it succeeds by being that. The beauty of it as well is if you have a shit story, it's only ever going to last for a couple of episodes, one or a couple at the most, and then you can move on to something that might be better. And God knows there's been enough crap episodes in Star Trek, but there's been some absolute genius as well. You get lumbered with a really, really bad story, i.e. season 3 of Discovery.
Season 1 of Picard.
Season 1 of Picard, yeah. So, but at this moment in time, we're only 3 episodes long, so we really don't know where it's going to go, do we?
I'm somewhat excited to see what happens and curious. It's more curiosity than anything else.
I'm curious, and like I said to you, I was engaged, I was intrigued.
Yeah.
It's definitely an improvement on season 1.
Oh, easily, yeah. Season 1's awful.
That's one good thing I will say about it. In any other time, back before the days of how they put their sludge into things and tried to bash people over the heads with the ideology and that, this actually wouldn't have been a bad story. Even at its point now, travelling back in time, they're ticking all the boxes of things that people loved in the old Star Trek. Time travel stories, parallel universe stories, Borg stories, all that kind of thing. People loved that kind of thing. So in Star Trek, so who knows? But for now, shall we rate it?
Yeah.
Should we start with episode 2 first?
What did I? Was it a 7 I gave the last one?
You gave 7 for 7 of 9. Sorry, 7.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 7 again.
Right.
It wasn't, as an episode goes, it didn't intrigue me as much. But I did have a lot of, I enjoyed watching it. It was enjoyable, but not that intriguing.
Yeah.
So I'd probably give it a 7 as well.
Okay. There were things about it that really annoyed me, but they didn't annoy me quite as much as I thought they were going to annoy me. But they're still there. I'm still well aware of the agendas behind them and all that kind of thing and the reasons why they're doing it. I've never been fooled by those things. But putting that aside and taking it as just to sit down and watch something for entertainment values, I'm going to give it a 5. Yeah. What about episode 3, Assimilation?
See, I don't know,
it's kind of a non-event episode, isn't it? Not a lot really happens.
I feel drawn to giving it a 5. That's a neutral score, really.
Okay.
I didn't love the episode, I didn't hate the episode. It was. So, if with 5 being the okay score, I guess I'd give it a 5.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So I gave 5 for episode 2, don't I?
Yeah, 5.5, 5, and then 4.
4. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4. It's not as good as the first 2. So as with the series with us, Watch This Space, we've said we're going to keep going for now. Who knows? Anything can happen in the next half hour. Dun, 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 dun. But we'll stick with it for now. And we have it on camera. Deep Space Nine. At some point soon, hopefully, will be
happening soon.
So thank you so much for joining me, Dan, and thank you all for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, share, subscribe if you can. It's truly, truly appreciated. And Dan and I will see you again very, very soon. Take care for now.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.